don't know if you have a family gift exchange during Christmas time, but like a lot of families have a white elephant gift exchange. And when I became 18 and I had to start buying gifts for this gift exchange, I didn't really know what people wanted, and so I ended up buying this Darth Vader lamp that, it was a terrible choice. No one wanted it, okay? And if you don't know how, these gift exchange works, every gift has to be given out and you end up with a gift whether you like it or not, right? And so someone always ended up with a gift. And so someone, my uncle in this particular case, ended up with this Darth Vader lamp that he clearly did not want. But being a very, just a nonchalant guy, he obviously took it. He didn't really care about what gifts he got. What's funny is the year after that same Darth Vader lamp showed up in the gift exchange. And, no one tells, what they brought, but I knew he brought it. He didn't know that I brought it that first year. And then someone else got that gift. And then the next year, that same lamp ended up in the gift exchange. And someone else got that lamp. Now I ended up, I forget how many years, but I ended up just taking it and telling my family, I bought this originally, so I'll just take it. Like, just stop with regifting this lamp. I'll just take it home. And it started becoming this, this joke about, who's going to get the Darth Vader lamp, right? Because no one wanted it. But it was so bad that people actually kind of wanted to see if they were going to get it, right? They just kept wanting to re-give this gift. Now, I think they wanted to share it because it was funny, but, they might have just wanted, they just might have wanted just to get rid of it. Now, there are gifts that we receive in our life that we want to share, right? I don't think there's very many gifts in our lives that when we receive them, we just want to keep it all to ourselves, that we just want to hoard it. Most things that we receive, if we really love them, we're going to want to share that good or that service. Like if you watched a movie that you really liked, you're not going to say, ooh, I better keep that title of that movie all to myself and not share that with anyone. Right? You probably want to tell others, like, hey, I saw this really good movie, I think you'd like it. Or if you ate at your favorite restaurant, this new favorite restaurant that you like, you're not going to be like, ooh, I better keep that restaurant all to myself, right? As if that affects, your life by sharing that with other people. You're probably going to want to tell people, like, hey, I really enjoyed this new Italian restaurant. It'd be really good if you went and tried it. And so I ask you, like, why don't we have this same approach with our church or our faith community? We have this amazing spiritual gift that we just don't want to share with others. And I'm not talking about it in like this evangelical, this proselytizing manner of having to share and preach about it, but like if we really like this place, we really enjoy this experience, that it's something that is meaningful to us, why aren't we sharing it with others? If we ate at a favorite restaurant, we would want our friends to eat there, and oftentimes we would eat there with them when we introduced that restaurant to them. And so our modern day Hall of Famer, as we've been going through this sermon series, he knows and he found something that he wanted to share with other people because it was so important to him. And he used his platform to share with others. And so today's Hall of Famer is someone that is in many Hall of Fames, and he is the famous Johnny Cash. Because of his fame and stardom, he did fall into a life that comes with fame and stardom. He fell into a life that he would abuse things that weren't good for him. Yet, he rediscovered his faith. He found redemption as an adult, and he used that redemption that he found to bring a source of redemption for others as well, specifically to those who were in prison and those on the margins. He lived a life where he knew the great gift that he had received from God and wanted to share that with the world. And so with that said, as we turn to our text for today, I invite you to follow along. It's in your bulletins, but it'll also be on the screen as well. And it comes from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, verses 31 through 45. And it says this: When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory. when all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate people one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will put the sheep at his right hand and the goats at the left. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick or in prison and visited you?" Then the king will answer them, "Truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did it to me." Then he will say to those at his left hand, "You who are accursed, depart from me into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not give me clothing. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me." Then they will also answer, "Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and did not take care of you?" Then he will answer them, "Truly I tell you, just as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me. And these will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life." The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. So I'd say this is a pretty well-known parable that has been getting a lot of traction lately in regarding to things such as immigration or people in poverty and those in prison. But it's also a text that imagines and paints a picture for the end of time, which makes it a little bit complicated. But it offers a very, very simple understanding that Christ separates the sheep and the goats based on how they live their life, based on how they welcome the least of these, those who are sick or hungry or thirsty or a stranger or in prison. And that when they did that, they did it actually for Christ and to Christ. And those that didn't do these things for the least of these, they're separated and cursed because they did not do it to Jesus. Now, one small thing that I want everyone to know about this text that isn't apparent to us in the English language, those of us that speak and read English, is that the term for stranger here, it designates someone that is strange to you because they are foreign to you. Okay? It designates someone who is foreign to you, meaning that they are a stranger because they are foreign to you, like a foreigner to this country is foreign to us because they do not speak English or have the same cultural background as us. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to extract more from this text because, well, quite honestly, it's not necessary. It paints a very, very simple picture. Those that claim to follow Jesus are the sheep and the ones who do these things. And those who do not follow Jesus are the ones who do not do these things. The evidence of Christ in our lives is the way that we treat others. Like the evidence of fire is smoke. 2 Sundays ago, I mentioned how Christianity in the United States has become really only individualistically focused and only spiritual. It's lacking the communal effort. It's lacking a physical presence. That the idea of having compassion on our neighbors has simply taken a back seat, like it's just a part of a checklist that we're supposed to do. Yet this text puts loving our neighbors at the center of the gospel message. This text makes it real plain and simple that those who are redeemed, those who follow Christ, do these things. One of the biggest turnoffs that young people have about Christianity, it's not about Jesus. It's about those who claim to follow Jesus. That one of their biggest turnoffs is that those who claim to follow Christ look, act, and do nothing like Christ would do. Now, our modern day Hall of Famer, Johnny Cash, is actually a Hall of Famer in multiple places, like a triathlon athlete. I was blown away by this fact. He's actually in 3 Hall of Fames already. He's actually in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Country Hall of Fame, and believe it or not, the Gospel Hall of Fame as well. And Johnny Cash, he grew up in poverty, and he never forgot where he came from. One of the moments that deeply shaped his life was the death of his 15-year-old brother in a sawmill accident. That day, Cash remembers that he tried to convince his brother to come with him and not go to work that day. But he eventually let him go. And on that day, it resulted in an accident that took his brother's life. And Johnny Cash blamed himself for not trying harder. He had all these closeted skeletons, and when he became famous, he began relying on drugs. He recalls that his usage was so heavy that he began by using pills, but eventually the pills began using him. When his first wife divorced him, he hit rock bottom. But it was through a small church in his home area in Nashville that he received Jesus again. 2 years later, he was completely sober and a different person. Even though Cash was never in prison, he spent a lot of time in jail. He was arrested on multiple occasions and spent a night in prison, or not in prison, but in jail, sobering up or whatever, cops do. And he began doing something with his notoriety and his faith because he had spent time in jail. He began recording albums in prisons in front of entire prison populations, not just having performances and concerts there, but recording his albums there, that prison inmates could be a part of the album recording. His biggest prison album, which is titled Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison, surpassed the Beatles that year when it came out. And so when we hear the text that we've heard today, we need to really highlight that the sheep, the people in the story, they visited people in prison. Cash not only visited people in prison, he made the inmates part of his album, and he did it because of his faith. He had found redemption in that small church, and he wanted to bring a source of redemption to those who are in places where we can't even imagine. Those and the people that we subconsciously imagine may never find redemption, who are not capable. We might imagine that they are incapable of receiving redemption, yet Cash wanted to bring redemption to those type of people. This is what the redeemed do. The redeemed seek to bring the greatest gift that they have ever received and want to share it with others. And that's what Johnny Cash did. But not only did Johnny Cash highlight the need for redemption for those in penitentiaries, he also highlighted the struggles of Native American people in the United States. He highlighted their struggles publicly, and he did so even against people that supported him, even against people that listened to his type of music. He stood up and talked and advocated for Native American rights. And if you don't know this is the connection to the text. If you don't know this, Native Americans are statistically the poorest ethnic group in this country. They have the highest rates of poverty in the United States, and often, across the board, earn the least amount of money per family. They are the poorest people in this country, so they are likely to be the people who are without food, who are without water, who are without shelter, who are without clothing. Yet Cash used his position to highlight their struggles. Like Johnny Cash, those who have been redeemed, those who have found Jesus, who have found the great gift of Christ, whether it's through a rededication like he found, or just by going to church all your life, those who are redeemed seek to bring redemption to others, especially those on the margins, especially those who seem to be unredeemable, like those in prison. They visit the sick, they visit those in prison, they feed the hungry, they give water and clothing to those in need, and they welcome the stranger into their homes. This is what the redeemed people of God do. Like when you see smoke and know that there is fire, it's the same thing about Christians who follow Christ. When you are redeemed, you see the good works for others. Cash's life speaks that no one is outside of God's redemption. And like last week's Hall of Famer, Father Greg Boyle, who visited those in prison, who sought to bring redemption to those who we would imagine to be on the outskirts of society. Like Father Greg Boyle brought that to gang members. Cash included those who were in prison. Now, Cash had always been through the ups and downs of a faith life, and it resembled a very truthful and honest one because it was so public, right? In one of his lowest moments of his life, with the intention to take his own life, he walked into a cave near his hometown in Tennessee. His intent was to walk, and he explained this in his own, in a documentary about his life. His intent was to walk and walk and walk deeper into that cave until life ran out for him. He climbed and he crawled and he just kept going in deeper and deeper into that cave for as long as he could. Explained that once he got to the end that he would just lay there to die, is what he said. And when exhaustion hit and he laid down with the intent to die, at this moment he felt that God spoke to him and spoke to his heart, saying to him, "You do not control your own destiny. It's my will that you do not die now." And so when he came back from Nickajack Cave and found his wife said to him, "You'll die if you don't get off that amphetamines and the sleeping pills." And Cash said, "I know, and I will get off those things." And she said, "I'll tell you what I'll do. I will be there to help save your life. I'll be at this house every afternoon. That way you could stay straight and you could look forward to seeing me." Shortly after this cave incident of walking through the valley and recognizing that God was there all along, Cash didn't just hold on to this gift for himself. He then went on to record his most famous prison album of all time, The Concert at Folsom Prison, stating that he hoped to put those prisoners on a track of redemption, the same redemption that he had found in his own life. And so as we inaugurate an actual Hall of Famer into our modern day Hall of Fame, let us be people who know that we are redeemed by God, but that is the greatest gift that we have received, but that it is not just for us to hold on to and to hoard that in our lives, that we don't stop there. That we are to be a people who want to bring that same gift of redemption to others as well, especially those who are on the margin, especially those who are in prison, who are a stranger, who are hungry or thirsty or naked and poor. Amen? At this time,